Hi, it's Mitz from My Life Mitz. Thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to work in my regular sized traveler's notebook and I thought I would catch up in my knitting journal. So my knitting journal is very sporadic. I do prefer to write my projects in the traveler's notebook as opposed to the online or like an electronic way of keeping track of things. I know many people update their projects in a place on a website called Ravelry, and I try my best to keep track of my works in progress and my finished objects there, but I must say I guess I'm more of an analog person and I prefer the notebook format or like the physical writing down and the physical part of keeping track of my projects. And so I decided to do this. I think I decided to do it in 2002 or early 2023. And I thought it would be a nice way to keep track of what I'm working on. I'm very behind, but I decided to sit down today and journal with you. And I like to keep the, I think they're called ball bands, the labels that are attached to the actual yarn. I like to keep track of that because most of the time I don't remember the name or the number of the color of yarn that I have used for specific projects. I will also print out any photos that I've taken of the projects and things like that, and of course small bits of yarn left over just so that I can remember what the yarn looked like or how it felt like. Ideally, I would like to, for knitting projects, so I'm going to backtrack a bit here, but I'm not sure about crochet, but for knitting projects, they usually suggest to create something called a knitting swatch. So you kind of knit out a piece of fabric and then you are supposed to check your gauge, or you're supposed to check the measurements of how big the fabric is going to turn out. I don't want to get into too much detail because I'm really not very comfortable with gauge at all yet. But ideally, I would love a place where I could keep my knitted swatches somewhere instead of just, they're kind of sitting in a small little bag. And if it comes to shawls or socks, I don't really, or scarves or anything like that, I don't really swatch, or I don't do like a knitted swatch. I probably should, but I don't. But yeah, I would like a place where I can keep those knitted swatches somewhere. I just think it would get way too big, and it would not fit in the regular sized traveler's notebook. It would have to be maybe an A5 or bigger, and it would most likely be in some kind of a binder system. I'm just not that organized yet, so I've not decided to do that. They're just, the swatches are kind of sitting in a small little pouch. But yes, as you can see, I've kept track, or I've held on to the ball bands or the labels of the yarn that I've purchased. And in this case, you can see I tied a little piece of that yarn right, like directly onto the label, which is a nice idea. I might, if I remember to, I'll try and do that. Because I do have, I think it's tucked away in the back, but there is a section where I have a bunch of yarn kind of dangled up together. Sorry, my hands are really cold. And so I have my snacks and ready to go. I wanted to do like a real time. This is a real time, but it is sped up. I did want to sit down and chat with you, but at the same time, I wanted to munch on some snacks, and I felt like it would be kind of rude to be chewing and drinking on camera, and I'm sure you don't want to hear me eating or munching away, so I decided to just turn the camera on, watch something on YouTube, and catch up in my knitting journal. I'm curious to know if you have a journal for your hobbies. I would love to hear what you keep track of. I know some people have journals for gardening, or maybe books that they've read or movies that they've seen. I would like to do, I don't know if I would do one for movies or like maybe just shows or books in general. I think that would be fun, but I'm already, I don't want to say I'm up to my max, because I'm pretty sure I can journal about just about anything, but I do have this journal for knitting. I do have another traveler's notebook journal for our restaurants and the places that we visit for eating. And so I think I'm pretty content with that. And of course I have a journal for traveling and just special events and things like that. So this journal I'm really, really happy with, because it kind of combines my journaling obsession as well as my knitting obsession. And I need to remember to print out more photos when it comes to my knitting projects, because I don't really share that too much. I do have a separate Instagram account for the knitting. If you're curious, I'll leave that down below. It's called The Maple Knits on Instagram, but I'll leave that linked down below if you wanted to see. But yeah, I need to remember to print out more photos so that I can share them with you, and also print them out and put them in my journal. These Peyton's Crochet socks I purchased while visiting Canada, and yeah, it was such a nice, fun knit, and the coral color that you see, I don't know if you can see it in the photo, but the coral color that I used for the heel and the toes are from a separate dyer in Japan, but the colors really matched really, really nicely. I go into more detail if you are interested in the knitting hobby or like the fiber hobby. I have a video with more close-ups and things if you are interested in that as well. But yeah, I just thought I would get on here and just journal together. It doesn't have to be like, even if you're not into knitting or crocheting or any of like similar fiber hobbies, I think it's absolutely okay. It's just fun to get on here and kind of create together and have this creative time together. So if you are a fellow knitter or crocheter, or possibly maybe you embroider or you work on different projects, I would love to know how you keep track of them. Do you write them in a plain journal like this one here, or do you prefer to do it electronically? Like I said, on Ravelry, for example. I don't know what it is, because I like to flip through the notebooks, and I don't want to have to log into my computer or my cell phone, and I don't know how to explain it, but I just enjoy having or touching the physical notebook and flipping through the pages and writing about my projects and updating them that way. Although this is very, very delayed. I finished these socks a very long time ago, so it is very delayed, but I still enjoy the process of documenting and keeping track of these things. I just grabbed the marker set that I really love using in my Hobonichi. I like it because the colors are very muted and light, and I didn't realize, like, as I was putting down color onto the page, I realized how much it matched some of the papers that I used in this journal entry. So it's evening midst now. I don't know if there is a change in my tone of voice, or anyways, I apologize if there is, but back to the video. So I'm just using the Russian Petite markers to add a little bit of color to the page, and I think I'm pretty much finished for this spread. I wrote about the socks that I completed using the Patton's Crochet sock yarn, as well as the dyer that I purchased in Japan. The dyer's name is You and I Yarn, and I really enjoy this this dyer's or this artist's color palette. I find that they're nice and bright, but she also has muted colors and more pastel colors as well, and I've really enjoyed using or finding this artist. Okay, sorry, it's evening, so I can tell that my words are not flowing as easily as I would like. I decided to keep going with the momentum. Sometimes I will do a journal spread and then I feel stuck, so I won't push myself, I won't force myself to finish off a spread if it's not in me to finish off a spread. And then there are days like this journal session where I just felt like going on to the next spread, and so yeah, I decided to just keep filming. I was thinking of splitting the video into two, but I think having a nice like 15-20 minute video is a nice it's a nice journal time. It's a nice time that we can journal together, I think. So I took out the rubber stamps, like the alphabet rubber stamps that I have, and decided to write out the word haul. I purchased a set of yarn minis from Patreon from a dyer named Molly. She runs a homespun house in Germany. And I also purchased a needle case, like a knitting needle case, and she's located in Japan. I did a video of this if you are interested on the other knitting channel, but I decided to take a photo of that. This was from last year, and I really liked how the photo came out, and I'm just using my home printer and just printing it out on standard copy paper. So I also received a small little thank you note with one of my orders from a different Japanese dyer, and I've kept that for probably over a year maybe, and I decided to stick that in there on the bottom. Right now I am just cutting out the silhouette of my daughter. I finished a project called the Muscle Burrow hat, and yeah, it fit her really well. Actually, my son decided to use it first, and then my daughter now is using it, and yeah, I decided to take a photo of it, and I wanted that to pop off the page, so I just cut out the silhouette. And I think that that's always a fun way to showcase some of the photos. If the background of the photo is, if I'm not too bothered by the background, or if it doesn't have any significance to the photo itself, then I'll just cut out the silhouette, and it's always a fun way to document things. I was flipping through the packaging that I had kind of tucked away in the back, and I found this perfect craft paper, part of a label of the label is from Isager yarn, and it was perfect. So I decided to stamp out using the alphabet rubber stamps again, and stamp out the word muscle burrow. And you've seen me do this numerous times. I don't want to waste the ink on the rubber stamp, so I'll just stamp the excess off onto a separate page. And in this case, I just kept the page open, and I just stamped the excess ink onto the current journal spread and created like a small little border. It's fun to see the different generation stamping. So there's going to be a little bit of darker shades of black, and then lighter shades, and then even lighter than that. And I've made sure to keep the letter random, and some of them are off to the side or upside down, and it's just a fun, creative way to remove the excess ink from the rubber stamp, but kind of also have fun with it as well. And it creates a nice little border if you are not into washi tape or adding watercolor or marker or anything like that. It's a fun way to add something to the page. So I stamped out the word Musselburgh. I think I said Musselburgh earlier in the video, but it's the Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague, and I stamped that below, and then I just attached it with some glue to the silhouette photo that I cut out earlier. And I'm using the same exact craft paper from that packaging, and I've decided to glue that down. But yeah, I think my other tape runner is running low, and so it was difficult for, like, I was having a difficult time with the tape runner, and so I had to grab a different one there. I don't know if you can kind of peek and see I'm wearing one of the sweaters that I knit. I've been wearing it every single day in the house during the winter days, and it's just, I know I'm supposed to wear it, or it should be worn just as a t-shirt, but it's been keeping me so nice and warm, and there's a whole bunch of pilling, but yeah, so you might see peaks of that in the shot. But anyways, moving forward, just adding some washi tape, and it's hard to see, but the silhouette of my daughter is actually popping up, and it has a really nice effect. I will try and take a close-up of I'll do a video, like what's it called? A B-roll, like a pan through of the journal entry that I did. And once again, I didn't really care for the background of this photo. It was taken while in the car. I do a lot of knitting in the car. I don't drive in Japan. It's just way too, in Tokyo anyways, it's just way too crowded. The streets, the residential streets, are very narrow and lots of people walking around. There's usually no sidewalk, so people are just walking on the side of the road, and you just kind of have to weave in and out. And so that makes me very scared to drive in Tokyo. But so I'm always in the passenger seat, and I actually secretly really enjoy going out for car rides now, because I can take my knitting or crochet projects with me. Lately I've been taking out my granny stripe throw a lot, because yeah, I just take my scraps, my pouch that houses my scraps, and then I just work on the granny stripe throw. And in this photo, I don't know if you can see, but the photo that I took in the car is actually a cardigan that I was working on in 2022, I want to say. I think it's called the Comfort Fade Cardi by Andrea Mowry. I'm still not finished. I stopped because the arms are too wide, and I think I want to frog back some of the knitting that I did and change up the arms a little bit. But anyways, here is a finished look at the journaling spread. You can see the silhouette of the picture is kind of popping up there, which is really cute. I'll do the journaling after I'm finished with the video. But yeah, this is the other spread that we did earlier today, and I think it turned out really nice. I hope to continue working on in this journal when I can. And for future videos, I definitely want to finish up some of the spreads in the accordion insert in my traveler's notebook that I use for keeping track of our restaurants. And so stay tuned for that. And somebody requested to see what's in my pencil pouch. That was, I think, last year somebody requested that. My pencil pouch hasn't changed at all, and it's overflowing, and I know there's probably things near the bottom of it that I'm looking for, so I need to do an updated video of that. So those are just more to come. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.